Welcome to the Engerati studio. We're located at the CTICC for the African Utility Week 2014, and with us we have Andrew Jones. You're the Managing Director of S&C Electric, and your focus, I know, is European based, but you have a lot of dealings in Africa, of course. Let's start off with, what are your feelings about the conference so far? Have there been some disappointments perhaps in certain areas, or have you seen some really interesting developments here?
It's actually been a very good conference.
Yeah.
We always, whenever I come to Africa, I do find that this type of conference gets a lot of people in that want to debate with you about technical aspects. And what's been interesting in this one is earlier today I was debating with a university lecturer whether they should actually consider teaching energy storage at university level, because he started with the idea that storage is too expensive, and then my normal question is, too expensive for what? So
Yeah.
I've now agreed to give him some information that he's going to start sharing with students, so it will help the education process. And in a really strange one, I was having a conversation with a guy from Alaska
Right.
that's come to Africa to learn how they do remote communities to deploy that technology in Alaska going forward. So
There seems to be a lot of learning going on, and there seems to be a real shortage as far as that is concerned. I was speaking to NERSA yesterday, our regulator of South Africa, and they've actually launched education programs to get people into the regulatory system, because they've never had a school for it or any kind of qualification for it. So they're grabbing graduates and they're bringing them into the program. So it's about time that this learning starts. Yeah.
I'm pleased you said that,
Yeah.
because it was my idea to NERSA about a year ago
Oh, there we
that they should actually start using universities to help them.
It's all you, Andrew.
No, it's not on me. But I think it is sort of,
Yeah.
what would be a shame for
Yeah.
Africa is to not take what's been learned elsewhere.
That's it.
And I think these conferences, which is very heavy technical content, is a good way to share that information.
Absolutely.
And we find it great for that.
Now, your forte is energy storage. I mean, it's a huge, game-changing topic. What is your involvement, your company's involvement in South Africa and Africa? Could you expand on that for us?
Yeah, we do a lot of education, but we're also sort of starting to look at the business models and how we can make money out of storage. And we've had a lot of conversations at the conference for the next round of renewables about how you could put energy storage with photovoltaics,
Right.
and then do some time shifting, so it could help with the winter peaks that South Africa have. And quick calculations, got to do some more work, but it would actually be more cost effective than the rate they paid for concentrated solar in round 3.
Yeah.
So that will be
Interesting.
quite a compelling case. When we sort of wind it up, we're actually close to finalising a project in Senegal at the moment, and this is a village that currently has no electricity at all, and they would be putting solar panels and energy storage. It's only 25 kilowatts, but that is enough to keep a village going for a day.
Absolutely, which they didn't have before, so that is a major development for them. And what kind of storage are they actually using? Is it a battery? What type of battery is it?
Yeah,
Is it
in this case, they initially wanted to use lead acid.
Yep.
And when we explained the business case that you would likely change lead acid every 3 to 4 years,
Yeah.
it actually gets expensive. So they're going to use lithium ion in this case.
Right, it's just more cost effective, more sustainable.
Yeah, and it just has a longer life, and it's more tolerant of temperature ranges, because there isn't going to be a lot of maintenance, and they certainly ain't going to keep it air conditioned.
Absolutely.
So that will make the life of and the value of the project better.
Now these projects are growing, or they have been growing, I understand, for the last many years, and Africa's probably almost at the forefront, I'd imagine, from what I understand, because of the need, for off-grid electricity, because there are areas that are so sparsely populated. Is that true? I mean, you were saying to me that South Africa developed a energy storage solution, and there was no need for it apparently, and they sold it off?
Yeah, there was actually.
Tell me about that.
Well, they actually developed two. So they developed technology which is known as Zebra, which is a high temperature sodium technology. And because they couldn't understand how to deploy it here, it's been picked up by an Italian company and GE. So, they obviously saw the benefit in it. They also, some of the vanadium reflow batteries that were technology developed here, and they couldn't see the benefit.
Right.
So what they now seeing is that they are going to need these technologies, and instead of leading the world and being able to sell it, they're now importing technologies. So there's a bit of lesson to maybe take a longer term view on how you can use these technologies, because the innovation was great. They knew what the problem was, they just couldn't commercialize it quick enough.
Yeah, and they wish they had now.
Yeah, definitely.
Energy storage, off-grid, on-grid, what are the developments in South Africa and the rest of the African continent? Where is it going?
Well, Africa has an interesting challenge from a diesel perspective, because as Eskom's been suffering a little bit in terms of amount of diesel it's using, there's clearly a case for diesel abatement, and one of the areas, for example, is mining. So a lot of mining, which is cyclical, depending on what the global market is, but more and more they're trying to see energy security, and they start seeing renewable and energy storage as being the way forward. So
well, it's like the mining industry. I was just saying to you earlier in Limpopo, that's quite a big development, the mining industry going off grid.
Yeah.
That could put the utility in a bit of a precarious situation.
Well, it's interesting because it does and it doesn't.
Please explain.
So from a viewpoint, is it potentially has an impact on revenue.
Yeah.
Which obviously has an impact in the long term, but in many of these places the costs of actually connecting them is more than they get from the revenue. So actually encouraging these places to become self-sufficient and consume their own electricity probably in the long run is going to have benefits.
All right.
Because just the costs that they have to connect these big businesses because they create jobs may not necessarily be the most cost effective.
Well, I suppose the mines could actually almost sell that energy back to the utility as well, and make a business model out of it too.
It's in fact, Chile has actually done a number of mines now with energy storage, and they're exactly doing that. At the times they don't need it, and the utility is grateful because it's helped balancing their system.
As far as energy storage is concerned in Europe, where are we in comparison? The continent of Africa, where are we in comparison to Europe? I know it must be two very unique situations, perhaps, but...
Well, it's actually, the interesting part is, so there's a US website run by the Department of Energy, and it goes and maps all the projects around the world.
Yeah.
And you look at it and you say, there's nothing happening in Africa. And yet everyone I go and talk to in Africa will tell me all these schemes have been running for years out of necessity. And I think the big difference is that in Europe and the US, they're all solving a single business case because that's the way the regulatory market works, and it's the only way they can get the value. In Africa, because you've got government-owned utilities, they're solving multiple problems with the technology. So that's the area where Africa is ahead, because it's out of necessity. They can see the full benefit because everyone benefits from it. Society benefits, governments benefit, and the operator benefits.
Absolutely. Where do you want to see Africa in the next decade with regards to, or where do you see Africa going within the next, let's say, 5 years to a decade?
Well, I think
with regards to, I don't know, microgrid, energy development, where do you see it going?
Well, I think it's sort of, it's certainly moving, so it's not one of our projects, but for example, there is a energy storage going into a high-end shopping mall at the moment in Johannesburg.
Right, yes.
And that's done for security supply reasons and cost. So if they can really understand the value, I think it will actually allow them to give more access to more people for electricity.
Right.
Will help some of the security supply issues, the reliability issues, and will also help with the affordability side of it.
Win-win situation as far as I'm concerned. We'll have to close there, I'm afraid. We've run out of time, but thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
Hope you enjoy the rest of the conference and you gain much success out of it. To our viewers, thank you so much for joining us. We do have a number of interviews that have been going on throughout the 2 days, so please feel free to have a look at them. Thank you.